nationwide strike effective Monday, October 21, over the Ministry of Finance's failure to pay allowances of its members on the single spine salary structure.
Also, despite the glaring challenges, President Akufo-Addo maintains the NPP government, as compared to the erstwhile NDC, has achieved better results in the Galamsey fight.
And later in sports, Ghana Black Stars to face Sudan in a must-win as they return to action for match day 4 of the ongoing 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. Those are the big stories we have for you this hour. I am Mawina Egbeta.
And I am Judith Brown. The bulletin starts now.
And our very first story this hour, investigations are ongoing this afternoon into the circumstances which resulted in the loss of lives at Kaswa Budumburam when rock blasting for the ongoing road construction resulted in death and major injuries to residents. 3 persons have been confirmed dead, with 13 others currently, including a 7-month-old baby still receiving treatment at the St. Gregory Catholic Hospital. In all, 47 victims from the Big Apple Township were affected, with the residents there still in shock over the development. Gordon Asidiba is my colleague who's there for us, and we will connect with him shortly, but there's been a myriad of concerns in relation to this as well. We'll also seek to engage a safety expert, Nanaya Akwada, on what all of this means, the consensus come through thus far about what should have happened, what warning systems should have been put in place before that particular incident yesterday. But that's the situation as we know it. The Ministry of Roads and Highways has announced investigations as they express condolences to the family of the bereaved, even as they express speedy recoveries as well to persons who are still receiving treatment. What we understand this afternoon is that a 7-month-old baby, unfortunately, is a part of the individuals or persons who are affected by that rock blasting. We've seen videos as well from social media which suggested near lynching situation as a result of that. But we'll bring you some other stories as and when we connect with Godwin. Then we'll bring the entire conversation to you. And we can move on now, and the Public Services Workers Union, they've declared a nationwide strike effective Monday, October 21, over the Ministry of Finance's failure to pay allowances of its members on the single spine salary structure. If this intended strike should come into effect, activities of the Electoral Commission and airlines risk being grounded to a halt. Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku is standing by with a bit more details into this particular development. Daniel is joining us via Zoom. Let's try if we can hear him. Daniel, what are the main concerns the union is raising, reason for this threat of an October 21 strike?
Hello.
Daniel, if you can hear me this time round, I'm asking what reasons are behind the decision by Labour, to particularly the Public Services Workers Union, to proceed on this industrial action.
So good afternoon to you, Mawina. Basically, the Public Service Workers Union is concerned about how their members have been shortchanged on the single spine salary structure. We know there are some allowances where members on the single spine salary structure are supposed to benefit. So we have categories 2 allowances, then also have categories 3 allowances. But unfortunately, the leadership is saying that their members have been affected, and all of them are public sector workers, including other institutions on their service. But unfortunately, other institutions have had their allowances increased, while their members have been shortchanged. For that reason, they have decided to withdraw their services hopefully from next week. This is basically because of stakeholders that have been very also get the is the reason they want to see.
Daniel, if you could kindly reposition for a bit of a challenge, hearing you as the network continues. You make the case that they say their members have been shortchanged.
Yes, the members have been shortchanged on the single spine salary structure. Basically, there's a concern they are raising. So they have directed them to put on red armbands and also put on red that are beginning today up to Friday. Then within this week, if they don't get any proper response from government, i.e. the Fairways and Salaries Commission and the Ministry of Finance, and hopefully from Monday, they are going to withdraw their services. And now we are talking in excess of 28,000 public sector workers who are members of the Public Services Workers Union. So they are located around, for instance, the Ghana Meteorological Service, the Ghana Statistical Service. You have the CSIR and other allied agencies who are part of the PSW. Basically, they want government to come in, or else from next week, they are going to withdraw their services. And also, especially the NCCE and workers at the Electoral Commission are members of the PSW. So if the government does not step in, then we can just imagine how, for instance, the EC will be able to business going
government now that
the hard series of engagements. The engagement began early part of this year. It continued around the months of June and July, and then September they back on a nationwide strike where they called them to a meeting that compelled them to suspend the strike. Now they have looked forward for quite an extensive and comprehensive discussions and negotiations with government, but that have really not yielded enough results. Especially when it speaks to the fair wages. Fair wages is saying that they have concluded everything with us, and the Ministry of Finance has also reneged, releasing funds for the members to be paid. There's a reason they had this time around. They are not somehow ready to engage. Any engagement with the leadership of PSW will make government is ready to release amount to hit into the accounts of the members who are supposed to benefit from the allowances.
Final question in relation to the single spine salary structure, concerns of being reviewed. What's been the outcome of the conversation surrounding a review of the single spine salary structure?
Right, so the single span salary structure has been in operation for about 12 years. Operation began in 2010, and up to now, the policy was only reviewed 2 years ago in the Eastern region, and that really was championed by the president. So a technical committee was set up where organized labor was part, and also the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations was also part. And 3 years on, they have been able to conclude all the negotiations. They have looked at all the review portions, all the scheme of services, also the categories, allowance categories on all the single spine have been done. But unfortunately, implementation has become a problem. And even the leadership of PSW is saying that unfortunately, they have not even gotten a copy of the single spine, of the review document that has been done. So they believe that government must release the review document, or to secondly, for them to go through, or else there's the need to scrap the entire single spine pay policy. Calling for the scrapping of the single spine pay policy, this will not be the first call by the PSW. The other sector unions have also called for the same thing. For instance, Cluster has also called for the need to scrap the single spine pay policy, and other unions have also called for the need to scrap the single spine pay policy because they believe that it has not been able to address the major challenge of fairness and equity within the work functions in the public sector.
Daniel, I appreciate those thoughts. That's Daniel Opoku, is our Labour Affairs correspondent, bringing us details this afternoon in relation to that threat by the Public Services Workers Union, who've announced and essentially issued threats that from October 21, next week, Monday, they'll lay down their tools. We can return to Kaswa this afternoon, Judith.
Absolutely, because investigations are this afternoon ongoing into the circumstances which resulted in the loss of lives at Kaswa Budumburam when rock blasting for the ongoing road construction resulted in the death and major injuries for residents. 3 persons have died, with 13 persons, including a 7-month-old baby, still receiving treatment at the St. Gregory Catholic Hospital. And in all, 47 victims from the Big Apple Township were affected, with residents still in shock. Let's connect now with Godwin Asidiba, who is in the township right now. He'll be reporting on that. Godwin, talk to us about the residents and how this has left them. Right, it seems that we have a few technical issues right there. We're trying to connect with Godwin to bring us more details from the Budumburam there, where there has been some rock blasting in the area. It's caused residents to be in shock. Residents are currently wondering what really would become of the area and what will happen to them in the coming days. Godwin is back with us. Godwin, talk to us about the residents and how this has left them.
Right, Judith. Aside the blistering sun multiplying the pain of the people here in Budumburam, it's actually quite devastating for them. There's a rather unfortunate incident that really caught my attention since I got here, before we even talk about the situation along the Winneba Budumburam stretch. At this particular place was where there was a lady called Georgina, together with her father, Thomas Kofi, who was around 58 years thereabout. I'm sure you can clearly see a hole that has been created here. A piece of rock actually traveled all the way from the road to the side, which is about 2 kilometers away. Before I let you know how it happened, come with me. When you come to this side, quite a number of pieces of rocks actually splashed all the way from the skies to most houses here. At this point was where Georgina and her father were seated, and they were having a conversation after the incident happened. So they decided to walk to their home, and unfortunately, this brick, which I will call the cast rock, it went straight into Georgina's father's head, and unfortunately, he has been part of the 3 people who have succumbed to their injuries here in Budumburam, Apple Town to be precise. Clearly, the people here are down in the dumps. They are sad. You can clearly see that the sadness written in their faces, and the general atmosphere here in most houses, it's just really something that I can't find words to explain, because you will find most people gathered in houses just a few walks away, just because they have lost a relative or they are trying to come to terms with a rather unfortunate incident that has happened. I've been speaking to Georgina, who has unfortunately lost her father, and she's agreed to have a brief conversation with me to let us understand exactly how this incident happened. Georgina, thank you so much for your time. I'm really sorry that this has happened to you, but I can clearly tell that he's sad. This happened yesterday around 2 p.m., just like you indicated. What sort of conversation were you having with your father under the tent before the incident happened? Right.
Nti ode malaria do no chile me na me sorry free bed no so na me ehwe. Ti me ehwe na me bisa ne say no a doctor na so ye nurse no say oh ekra wa akoto no mistake awa ye ne say bi wa fa ni true. I'm say and it's benya pai na kese pra.
So at what point na ebobone free so hard mobile?
Yeah should dey the main time if you won't buy but me say assassinate was so bad. Me be son is that a dent to my young solid yen journey. The young solid yen journey on me who say, or the Satu now saw me muna. May train say, young continue to me, meaning say, a separate things. Maybe Danny could do dination and me who say, Moja April, ceremony Hunda to me, Sammy Chiaba, Abba, say a bottles now. I am a Sammy, but not or no share table between the table. I'm starting the mystery me for represent
Right. So what she's basically trying to say is that when they were seated there and they started hearing some sort of noise, she thought it was about to rain and decided to take the father into the room because he wasn't feeling quite well. But She left the father for a moment and went into the room and realized there were some blood splash around her hands and her face. Unfortunately, she came out and realized that the heavy rock that I showed you earlier has smashed the head of her father, which is really devastating. But area hope for never more than a poor hospital. Right. So she couldn't come to terms with the situation. So, of course, she had to scream for help. People around came to rescue him. They took him to the hospital, and unfortunately, he was pronounced dead. It has been a really difficult time for Georgina here because some 6 months ago, she lost her mother, and this time around, she's losing her father again. Really, really hard time for her. But she's just one of the numerous people here in Apple Town who are grappling with this rather unfortunate incident that has happened here in Budumbram. Just like I indicated, you go to most houses and then you see the mountain canopies, others seated, and you could realize that they're really, broken-hearted. These are quite a number of people who have gathered in here to console with Georgina and other family members so that they can be able to grieve with them and also to calm them down as this rather unfortunate incident has befallen them. I was able to get to the roadside as well where the blasting itself happened. If you go there, you can clearly see that it has been abandoned. The place has been deserted. And some portions of the zinc that was used to barricade the place to cover it up so that people wouldn't know that there is some sort of construction going in there has actually been ripped off by some residents. You will also walk around and then realize that some of the roofs have also had loopholes that has been created, and this was because of the splash of the rocks that hit some part of the buildings. You go to some homes as well, and then you see that due to the pressure that came with the rocks, it actually created some holes in there. So no one basically was actually safe because some of the pieces splashed all the way to the markets around, and I was told quite a number of women were also injured. What was actually really shocking, that climaxed it all for me, was that there was a 7-month-old baby who was also part of the incident, and at the moment we have been told he is responding to treatment and hopefully will be discharged either today or tomorrow, and that is according to the head of administration at the St. Gregory Catholic Hospital. So Judith, that is how the situation is here basically. The place at the moment deserted. I have been told that residents are really angry, and at the moment they don't want to spot anyone on that side. Some chiefs within the community and the neighboring communities have all come to, console with the chief here because unfortunately he also lost a relative, and it is just really, really sad, Judith.
Ryan, many thanks for your time. That's my colleague Godwin Ngasidiba, who has been at the Budumburam area, judging or looking at the situation there after that rock blast happened, and the number of people have died as well. We're remaining on this, and we spoke to an expert as well on the matter, and this is what he has been saying.
The number of people you received yesterday in your facility.
Okay, so to repeat. So as at the time I was giving briefing to the media, it was 42, but later we added up. So as at this morning, total of 47 were received.
Right.
Out of this 47, I want to repeat that only 3 died. 3 died. 4 were referred. 2 to 37 military hospital, 2 to Winneba trauma.
Right.
Then we discharged 34. As at this morning, we are left with 13 patients with a 7-month baby. They are all doing fine.
Okay.
By midday or end of the day, we shall know how many more we shall discharge, if there's anything we need to do, give further updates.
So it means those with critical conditions were the ones you transferred to 37 and Winneba Hospital.
Yes, please.
Right. For those who unfortunately lost their lives, what was the state of their condition when they arrived at the facility?
Oh, they were dead in arrival.
Okay.
Call it rotting dead.
Okay.
Yeah. They were mostly heads. That's what we saw physically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
That's the medical doctor at the St. Gregory Hospital, where we understand 47 of the individuals in that Budumbram blast were taken to and have been receiving treatment. 3 confirmed dead, 13 still on admission, including a 7-month-old baby. But there are big questions that have been asked all across the last 12 hours since the incident was recorded. Let's try and get a bit of responses from a safety expert. Nanaya Akwada is Executive Director, Dr. Nanaya Akwada, I should say, is Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety. He's joined us via Zoom this afternoon. Doc, I appreciate that you could speak to us. A lot of thorny issues that stick out really as to what we've seen and the questions about safety, what should have happened, cautions that should have been offered to persons around when this blasting happened. What is your own assessment of what we've seen and the dangers associated with what happened yesterday?
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon to your viewers. Also, let me extend my warmest thoughts to the dead and the injured in this incident. It's rather unfortunate that we as a people consistently have failed societies, institutions that have been set up to, otherwise protect societies, protect communities, protect the interest of welfare, have all failed. And each time we come to this junction, we will have those institutions, come up to us and attempt to assuage our pain by just words and knee-jerk reactions, but nothing consistent, nothing tangible actually goes into such things to make sure that they do not recur. Look, we just a little over 2 years ago, we experienced Apiate. And some of us, indicated that the Apiate incident pointed to, huge gaps within our management systems for some of these dangerous, substances or dangerous operations, and that it required that the national security and the Ministry of Interior do not leave this in the hands of the Minerals Commission and the EPA alone, because they have failed. Unfortunately, that word, that advice, did not get anywhere, and we are where we are today. I recall that during one of my commentaries on Apiate, I did say that the day that one of these explosives will be used without recourse to due process near the Flagstaff House, that is probably going to be the day we start seeing some tangible actions, from the government. There is no reason why there are protocols that guide or that, guide these processes. And these protocols at every stage are thrown to the dogs, and then we have such casualties and such a whole community, coming up with a disaster on hand. As I speak to you, we are still rebuilding the town of Apiate. We have not finished. The taxpayer is still reeling under the heavy debt, that came as a result of Apiate.
Right.
And without that out of the way, then boom, we have another one on hand. Why can we not, as a people, sit, review the system thoroughly, and be able to identify that these are the gaps that we need to, block? Why can't we sit as a people and bring people to book, let people pay?
Just briefly, we've seen a statement from the Roads and Highways Ministry that investigations are underway into the development. Considering this road construction company responsible for this blast, what would you expect will be the course of action when this investigation is done? Just briefly.
Well, sitting from where I am here, it's a textbook case. It's a classic case, and we've seen this. I've been in this space since 2009. We've seen this over and over and over again. The statements will be issued, investigations are ongoing, the least that you are going to see, the most that you are going to see out of this is probably going to be a fine to the company. Nobody's going to go to jail for this, and there's not going to be any serious structural reforms to the processes, and we will come back to this in a few years' time. Nothing much is going to happen until the day that we start putting people in jail for causing loss of life, for disrupting, livelihoods of people, for disrupting the ecosystem. Nothing is going to happen.
Mr. Akwada,
unfortunately.
I appreciate that you could speak to us.
That's
the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, Dr. Nana Akwada, speaking to us this afternoon on what is a rather unfortunate incident. We can now bring you stories in relation to Stop Galamsey fight.
Now let's do some stories on illegal mining, and President Akufo-Addo has urged the NDC flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, to make his stand on Galamsey clear to Ghanaians. He maintained that he put his presidency on the line to fight Galamsey and remains committed to achieving that promise. The president was on a one-day campaign tour of the Savannah region, where he urged the people to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to continue his good works of the government. Now, let's get more on this from my colleague, Christopher Amwako, who is right there at the area to bring us more details. Christopher, what more has the president been telling the people in that region?
Yes, so Kemini, basically, the president has been talking about his achievements as president of the Republic since 2017 to date. He talks about the fact that he created the Savannah region where they are now seeing massive infrastructural development. He also talked about the free senior high school and also talked about his fight against Galamsey and stated that the former president, that is the NDC's candidate, should come clear on his stand on ending the menace of Galamsey, because as it stands now, he has not made any public commitment as to how he's going to end the menace of Galamsey. And so he's calling him out to make a public statement on how he's going to ensure that he fights Galamsey should he be given the opportunity. Let's take a listen to what the president has been telling the people of Damang.
Who wants to be president? He can't change his mouth. One side of his mouth is saying one thing, the other side of his mouth is saying another thing. It is not good for him. In the 2020 election, after the government had acted on the Galamsey, he went around all the mining districts of Ghana to tell them that when he comes, he's going to give amnesty to anybody who has been attacked on the Galamsey issue by my government. So it's not surprising that MPP lost in all those constituencies. That when he comes, he will now enforce the Galamsey laws. We want the NDC, four-time NDC presidential candidate, to come clean, to tell us where does he stand. This is what I meant when I said that I was prepared to put my presidency on the line. I was prepared to take the political risk in dealing with them Galamsey.
Well, interesting developments there. But Christopher, we understand that there was some confusion at the Japat Palace and the overlord of Gonja, Yabonwura, walked away as well. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, so yesterday, the Yabonwura, as it were, told the president that his appointees, some of his appointees in Gonjaland have been disrespecting the customs, cultures, and traditions of Gonjaland, especially he being the overlord. And so he wanted the president to, as it were, question these appointees. So the president, in his response, stated that he felt that the Yabonwura could have discussed that particular matter with him privately so that they will find a lasting solution to it. But he has actually consulted his regional minister on some of the issues, but the regional minister told him that that issue that the Yabonwura raised never happened. And so the people felt that the president called the Yegbonra liar, and so there were some agitations, but in all, the Yegbonra after the program left to his palace, and the president also departed from Damon.
Right, many thanks for your time. That's my colleague Christopher Mwako. He has been in the Savannah region where the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been paying a visit or is on a tour. But let's stay on the issue of illegal mining now, and the Omanhene of Trifu, a T Mokwa traditional area in the central region, and 3 others have been dragged before a Kumasi High Court over the alleged involvement in illegal mining activities and trespassing of a licensed small-scale mining concession. Osiadeyo Kwesi Kening IV and other defendants, including a Chinese miner, have been accused to have illegally mined 85% of a 14.73-acre concession belonging to Kadesh Mining Enterprise. Now, this is said to constitute an infraction and aggravated illegality under the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar joins us for more on this. Ibrahim, can you tell us what more do you know about this case?
Well, like you rightly said, this is a mining concession that has been leased out to Kadesh Mining, a small-scale mining enterprise. And before they could even go on site to start their legal operation, the land had already been invaded by some illegal miners. And upon their checks, they said allegedly they realized that the chief was involved and other Chinese miners. So they had to take the matter before the court. In fact, when the Kumasi High Court called the case today, the chief was missing in action, but the other 2 defendants were in court. But then the counsel for the chief was raising objection about the even case being held at the Kumasi Court rather than Cape Coast High Court, because he was saying that all the defendants are residents of Chifupra, so which is in the central region, and for that matter, they should send the case there. But then you look at counsel for the plaintiff, they also have security concern at Cape Coast High Court. They cited instances where they went there and they were attacked. So they were rather preferring the case be heard at Kumasi High Court or even Accra High Court. But currently, the matter has been referred to the Chief Justice for onward determination, and they will be reappearing in court on 28th. But with the issue of illegal mining, counsel for the plaintiff, Hansen Kodia, has been speaking to it, and he said this is a national interest, and this comes at a time where the country has intensified its call against all forms of illegal mining activities. Let's listen to what Hansen Kodia has been telling the media.
As Ghanaians see illegal mining from a different perspective. People say Galamsey is illegal mining. Galamsey is not necessarily illegal mining. It is more than that. Galamsey is, in my own words, aggressive robbery. They are robbing the state of the state resources. And that's how we have to look at it. It's not just even an issue of stealing. It's robbery. You can have licenses and still be guilty of illegal mining. It depends upon the means by which you are mining. But Galamsey goes beyond that. Galamsey technically is stealing or robbery, because they do that with people armed behind them. And that is what the state should look at. If somebody steals anything, the person can be punished. You can even steal 1 cedi, and you can go to prison for more than 10 years. What about if the person is stealing gold belonging to the whole nation, and we just talk about it as if it is nothing? So it's a serious thing my clients are pursuing. It's not only in their interest, but the course that they have taken would help the nation as a whole.
Many thanks for your time. That was my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar giving us details from the central region, where a chief has been arraigned for court for his involvement in illegal mining, along with 3 others. We'll go for a short break. We'll be back with more stories.
One bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo Paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage.
By that, you know what time it is. Let's take you to the Electoral Commission right now, where the Inter-Party Advisory Committee has been convened again by the Electoral Commission, this time to discuss the ongoing online voter exhibition exercise aimed at current challenges as raised by the NDC. Stanley Blewu is our man there for us. Let's get an update of exactly what the situation is at this particular point in time. Stanley, thank you for joining us. We understand the Electoral Commission Chair, Madam Jean Mensah, has been speaking. What's she been saying?
Okay, so Madam Jean Mensah has been addressing the IPAC meeting. Actually, she gave the welcome address, and in her statement, she spoke about the subjects for which they have convened at the Alisa Hotel to discuss, which is the re-exhibition of the voters register. And for Madam Jean Mensah, the NDC, she actually commended the NDC for triggering the processes that have led to the convening of the IPAC meeting to discuss the reforms in the provisional voters register. And according to her, all the discrepancies that were actually identified by the various political parties have been actually resolved. So this register, this provisional voters register that is being re-exhibited online is different, far different from the ones that were exhibited in person a couple of months ago. And so that's some of the things that she actually said at the meeting. And also, you know, this re-exhibition exercise will last for 4 days.
Right.
After the 19th of this which is Saturday, 19th of this month, when the re-exhibition process had come to an end, it will actually afford the voters an opportunity to go ahead to recheck their names. But for correction of their names, if there are still discrepancies in their names, that window that would enable them go to the Electoral Commission offices, the district offices, to actually engage the Electoral Commission officers to rectify, that window would not be available for the voters. And then Madam Jean Mensah also said that after 19th of this month, after the exhibition has ended, the Commission will cease to receive complaints from political parties and the public, the voting public.
Stanley, just briefly on the responses from the parties present, what have they been saying?
For the parties present, when I came here earlier in the morning, I spoke to a couple of the party representatives, including the NDC, the PNC, the NDP, and then the CPP. And these 4 political party representatives that I engaged, they appeared divided on this topic, because for the NDC and PNC, they feel that, and the CPP, they feel that the online registration shouldn't be the only avenue for the online re-exhibition should not be the only avenue for voters to actually check their names with the Electoral Commission, but there should be the other window of in-person checking, a center where these people can walk in, because they cited the remotest part of the country where access to internet has been a problem as a major challenge that could actually mar this exercise and prevent people who are willing to participate in the process from doing so.
Right then, Stanley, I appreciate those details. That's my colleague Stanley Niblo from the Alisa Hotel, where we understand the Inter-Party Advisory Committee is meeting again over concerns of the voters register and the ongoing online exhibition.
In other news, Labour and environmental NGOs will pay special attention to Parliament's resumption today. The possible repeal of LI 2462 and the Finance Minister's presentation of a 2025 mini-budget are the key highlights of what should be a short sitting of Parliament, with the second arm of government resuming today. MPs have been on a long break amidst campaigns and possible threat of a shutdown of government business due to the ongoing fight against illegal mining. We'll be in the House shortly, but first, let's run you through the major things that we expect to happen in Parliament today as it resumes sitting. Well, what do we expect? We know that government will begin processes to repeal the LI 2462 today. The finance minister will also present the 2025 mini budget, and the minority will attempt to have 4 seats declared vacant. Well, my colleague Noble Crosby Annan is joining us via Zoom with more details from Parliament. Crosby, what more can you tell us about the atmosphere in Parliament right now?
The sitting is about to begin. The Speaker of Parliament will very soon join so that sitting can commence for the 5th meeting of the 4th session today at the dome of the Accra International Conference Center. But before this was an address by the majority leader. He should have done it with a minority leader, so it becomes an address by the leadership of Parliament. But it was done in absence of the minority leadership. However, it was something that was to let the media know the key issues that this session of Parliament will be looking at. Among the things that the majority leader said was that because we're getting towards elections and there are lots of bills to be considered, they're going to run a very flexible system and they're going to sit for 3 weeks or more. Among the CIs that are supposed to come to Parliament for considerations, we're looking at a CI to regulate election petitions. We'll get a CI from the Electoral Commission. There's also word that the Supreme Court, or the Chief Justice of the pardon, will also present another CI for consideration during the sitting. But because of their workload to this, they are likely to be sitting on weekends and possibly on Mondays as well, so that they'll be able to deal with a lot of bills that come their way. He also mentioned that the 1D, 1F legislation of the bill, the committee has done its work and the figures have been reviewed and slashed down. The Supreme Court report on nominees is also ready. They would also consider the World Bank facility loan as well as the environmental protection bill. I should also mention that he made mention that the pre-SHS bill is also in the House. So these are just few of the bills that will be considered as Parliament is commencing sitting.
Right, many thanks for your time. That's my colleague Noble Crosby and bringing us details from Parliament ahead of sitting today. But we have more in sports, Mona.
And a lot of you will be anticipating that game which comes off. It starts in 11 minutes, where the Black Stars will in some really few minutes face Sudan in a must-win game. There's a lot of talk about how it's a must-win qualifier, and despite keeping a clean sheet in the last game since Otuado's return, not many are hopeful that the Black Stars can make it to next year's AFCON qualifiers. Billy Shen is with 3 Sports. Let's get a few out of him in terms of preparation, the squad, and what we're expecting any moment from now. Changes in the lineup that was seen in that game against Sudan this afternoon?
Yeah, Iñaki Williams has come in to replace Jordan Ayew. That is the only change that Otuado made. Jordan Ayew started as the spearhead of attack in the previous game, and now he's given the chance to Iñaki Williams to try and score goals against Sudan. And
what really can Ghanaians look forward to? A difficult spell of games over the last 3 games for Coach Otuado, but how important is this win? There's a likelihood we cannot make it to next year's AFCON if we don't win.
Yeah, it's very, very key. If the Black Stars do not win, then qualification is no more in their hands. They would have to depend on Angola and possibly Niger to give them favors before the end of the qualifiers. Now, looking at the numbers, I mean, when we talk about a away record of the Black Stars in AFCON qualifiers since 2019 November, Ghana has only won 1, which isn't a very, very good, statistic for you. I mean, it's 7 games played, just 1 win. And so it's very, very concerning. And it's something that, they have to, try and change recently.
Otuado's been speaking. What's he been saying?
Basically, he's trying to say that the team needs goals because, I mean, they created a lot of chances against Sudan, and now they have the opportunity to finally score those goals. And that was a few words that Otuado said before that game.
In terms of passion and willingness to win was there, but just the last thing was missing, and this is to score goals. And I think the boys are mentally ready, and yeah, this is the only thing which is missing. We have to score, and we have to score, and we have to believe in ourselves. This is very important. And with this belief come goals.
So that's Coach Otoado. We're wishing the Black Stars the very best. In 8 minutes, the game is expected to kick off, and we'll be following and supporting the Black Stars of Ghana. We'll take us on to our very second break. We return with Ghana Remembers.
All be lie, all be lie.
Thank you, boss. See you next week. Yo, where is my passport? Where is my passport? Yo, man, I want to Waba.
What is that,
And then
give me my passport.
Relax.
You made me pay for express for 24 hours, and yet it's not in.
You told me that you are telling me this.
What's going on? Hello.
This man here has taken my money. That within 24 hours, he'll do my passport for me.
Oh,
see, that's
the same thing applies to me. He told me last night. He's telling me this week.
Process. That's what they do.
Yeah. Oh, madam. Please relax. I'll get for you in 24 hours.
Hey, Goroma. So you never change? Eh? You get passport for someone within 24 hours, Madam Obwa. See, the normal working hours is 9 to 5. Eh? Now 24 hours, yeah, I'm fat. I'm fat. You guys have made a very big mistake by trusting these people. Now, through digitalization, passport application has been made so easy. Now, you don't need to stress yourself and join any long queue for your passport. All you have to do is to log on to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website and begin your application. By buying a passport application voucher online. Simple and easy. And very soon, all you need to get your passport will be your Ghana card. What is it true? Yeah, Obiza. It is possible.
Esuro. Both number 1 on the ballot.
He have not shown sign of settling down.
Oh, you don't mean it. Power to deliver disability.
Am I
Welcome back. It's time for Ghana Remembers. In the few weeks leading to the 2020 election, the then Speaker, Professor Mike Aaron Okoye, made a declaration in Parliament. At the time, the governing New Patriotic Party sought to send the strongest of messages to members in Parliament who opted to go independent after losing their bid to return to the legislative chamber. Now, Mike Okoye, who declared the Formina seat vacant, declaring in his own words that, and I quote, "With all intents and purposes, he is no longer a member of the party. He has pronounced himself publicly as an independent and has filed his papers to compete against the party in his official candidate as the independent on 7 December 2020. Well, 4 years on, what the NPP believed to be a political masterstroke in sending shivers down the spines of its MPs may well be back to bite them hard and possibly where it could hurt the most. The NDC today stands ready on that same principle, asking Speaker Alban Babing to declare 4 seats in the 8th Parliament vacant, a move that best serves their interests, giving them a majority in Parliament some 53 days to the elections.
The Parliament of Ghana will reconvene. And when it reconvenes, I am very certain that Parliament and Ghana will go through a major constitutional test. And that constitutional test is that the NDC minority must become the majority from Wednesday next week. And assume, and this must happen if there is constitutional and legal propriety in Ghana.
Well, there are suggestions it could be headed to the Supreme Court for a possible determination. But until that is done, Parliament will be an interesting place in these last days. That's it for Ghana Remembers.
And it's interesting you mentioned the Supreme Court being a possible destination, because we're picking suggestions that there is a suit being filed at the Supreme Court seeking to prevent the Speaker from taking this particular motion, which will seek to declare the seats vacant. We'll provide you a lot more details of it a lot later here on TV3. But quickly scan and be a part of the 3 News WhatsApp channel. That's where you find all things news-related and our news cards and code cards as they come in every day. I am Mawina Igbeka.
And I am Judith Brown. A pleasure coming to you always. Up next, the afternoon show.